One more minute before you have to listen to me. Hey, keep coming this way if you guys can. Keep coming over.
I think you're good. 45 right now.
45, okay. We're going to come up here. Cascade drivers, muscle plane. Like this, full stretch, going to drop into it, don't fall over. Stretch out that hamstring in the back. A lot of times you think, man, let's drive, why is my lower back hurting? Because your hamstrings are getting too tight. Hamstrings tie in, get your glutes right into your back. So a lot of times it could just be your left and right, your legs are just tight, stretch out your legs. Is this enough for today right now? No, not at all. Might even close. Do this again in about 3 hours. Do this right before your heaviest bulk stop. Get loose, stay stretched, stay healthy.
All right, come on. Hey, I want to take a second to introduce my family. My wife down there, Shannon. This is my son Andrew, 16 years old. My son Brett, who's 12. Madison, 18. And Tristan, 14. This is one of the reasons why I work a lot of hours. They create all kinds of issues at home, so I try to stay out of that house. In all seriousness, nothing's more important, I think, to all of us. As a parent, nothing is more important than the safety of your family. That's it. In my opinion, is nothing is more important than their safety. Whether it's walking across the street, as a parent, I'm sure each of you have taught your kids about walking across the street. That they don't walk across the street unless they look left, right, left. They understand that the one thing that will upset me more than anything else is something like that. Them riding their bike out of our driveway without even looking or without stopping first, right? There is nothing that I'll flip out more about than that right there. The reason why is because nothing is more important than their safety. So, of course, with that being said, I just told you I have an 18-year-old and I have a 16-year-old. My 18-year-old started driving about 2 years ago. And as a parent, that's pretty scary when you got a 16-year-old behind the wheel, especially with them always on their texting and so forth. So we spent a lot of time between me in the passenger seat and her in the driver's seat, or me in the driver's seat and her in the passenger seat, talking about what? 10-point commentary, 5 seeing habits, expect the unexpected, make sure that people are going to, that if you're driving in a parking lot, you expect people to pull out. So you got to clear every single person in a car, right? That's what we talked about. So she now has her driver's license and she drives my vehicle more often than not. And I have no problem with that. She's one of the safest drivers that I've ever met because she understands what the commitment is to driving. She understands that it's not even a choice or not even, it's not an option for her to have an accident. She can't have an accident. Why? Because I really care about my car. Secondly, I really care about her. And that's really what it comes down to. So she spends a lot of time driving them around with them in the car. So she knows she has to pay attention whenever she's driving. It is not an option for her to have an accident, regardless of who's at fault. It doesn't help me to say, hey, I went through an intersection, they ran a red light, they hit us, and oh, by the way, Andrew's hurt. That doesn't help me. She knows that she has to clear every single intersection, and she has to assume that that person out there is going to run a red light or run a stop sign. It's not an option for her, right? Andrew is 16. He keeps begging me. He's got his permit. He keeps begging me to drive. Unlike his sister, he's a risk taker. He's the guy on the skis that's flying down the hill. She's the one that cautiously skis down the hill. We have Sea-Doos. She's the one that drives the Sea-Doos with her head on a swivel, making sure that there's other boats around. She's going to avoid them. He's not. He's the guy that's going full bore. So he knows he will not drive until I know for a fact he can be safe and not pay attention to anything other than driving our vehicle, right? Now, you're all professionals. I expect them, him and her, to have no injuries, no accidents this year. I expect these two to have no injuries this year. I expect it. I don't hope, I expect it. I train them, I teach them, I coach them, just like all of you do with your kids. We are the most professional drivers in the entire world. We are trained better than anybody in the entire world. We should expect, each and every one of us should expect every day to go home the way we came in. We should expect not to have an accident today. And if we use defensive skills, we won't have an accident. If we expect people to run stop signs and signals and not stay put, we won't have an accident. If we're driving through a parking lot and we assume everybody is behind the wheel of a car until we see that they're not, by clearing those steering wheels, we won't have an accident. If we watch where we park, if she has an accident and she's not even in the car, but she parked it in a place that would maybe help her have an accident, I'm probably going to talk to her about that too. Because my assumption is when I give her my car, it's going to come back in the same condition as well as herself. The last thing I have is we have one of the most professional drivers that delivers in our neighborhood that is in this group, period. This driver's name never shows up on any report. Now, the driver's not here today. He's on vacation this week, and if he was, I wouldn't bring him up here because he's that driver that just comes in and goes and does his job. He happens to be a Circle of Honor driver. He doesn't even like being recognized out there by the parking spot we have him because he's just that driver that wants to come in and go home. If I said, hey, I need you up here on the stage, he'd say, no, I don't want to be part of that. But I was at a Christmas party a couple weeks ago, and at the Christmas party, it's our annual Christmas party. We have about 20 homes that are in our neighborhood, all one street, 20 homes, and one of the neighbors across the street has a party every year. And at the party, one of the neighbors talked about our driver, Bill Stupid. And he said, man, he's just such a great guy. Always friendly, always professional. We just really appreciate what he does. Then somebody else mentioned about it. And then I went on to talk about it, brag about him being just one of the nicest men you'll ever meet and just what an incredible job he does. And I also went on to talk about him being a Circle of Honor driver. And they were like, well, what's that? So I got an opportunity to talk about Circle of Honor and how important that is and how big of a deal. And they say, you know, he's always so efficient too. He pulls up, he makes the delivery, gets in his car. Before we even get to the door, he's already waving to us from the car, and he leaves. When he sees me, he does the same thing. He basically waves to me as he goes by. He never stops and says hi. When he's delivering something to our house, by the time I get to the door, he's always in the car. He never stops and says hi. Maybe he doesn't like me, but I think it's really just that's how he is. He's just an efficient guy. He doesn't spend more than 30 seconds in front of a house, which reduces the chance of having a hit while parked. So with that, our neighbors, my kids and my neighbors, put together this. And basically it says, thank you, Bill Stupik, our UPS driver. And it has our street, and it says, safe driving makes a difference. When we moved in, there was one family that lived in our neighborhood. We moved in, it became 2. Now there's 8 families in those 20 homes. And these are their handprints of the different kids that live in our neighborhood. And so as I was sharing that with one of the safety committee members on Friday, they started talking about their neighborhood, and there's like 75 kids in their neighborhood. When you're out there, you have to think about that. You have to be like Bill Stupik and drive defensively and just be efficient. We're not asking you to run, we're just asking you to be efficient, which is deliver the package and get going. You know, deliver the package on your way back, look at your next stop, and then get going so you don't have to look at your diet when you're driving. I expect each of you to go 0-0 this year. You should expect it. I know they expect to go 0-0 this year. I know they don't want to get hurt, and I know as their dad, I definitely don't want to see them get hurt nor have an accident. And we'll see if he ever gets his license. It all depends on whether or not he decides he's going to drive safe and not take risks. So, thanks, guys. Have a great day.